Okay, today on the show, we have Scott Fisher from SentriLock. Now, Scott is the CEO and founder of SentriLock LLC, which is a subsidiary and the official lockbox solution for the National Association of Realtors. As an innovator with over 30 years developing and delivering technology solutions in the real estate industry, Scott has 24 US and foreign patents to his credit and is the catalyst for technology-driven development for SentriLock. Now, over 400,000 realtors currently use SentriLock, and as we mentioned, they are the official lockbox solution for NAR. If you're not yet using SentriLock or their newest product, SentriKey, which we're going to be speaking about, please contact your local realtor association or visit SentriLock, and that's Sentry with an I, SentriLock.com. Scott, welcome to the show.
Oh, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are really excited to have you here. And we normally don't have, what we do on the show is predominantly talk to top producers and ask them how they became successful. And most of our top producers that we've interviewed on the show over the years, we've done about 300 episodes or just under, use SentriLock. So we thought this was a perfect opportunity to speak to the man behind the technology. And also you guys have some exciting news of a new launch that happened last month. And so I guess almost 2 months ago now, and
Right.
would love to talk to you about that. So my first question is for anyone out there who's a realtor who might not be currently utilizing SentriLock. Can we just define what SentriLock is and what it does?
Yeah, so SentriLock, we started the company back about almost 18 years ago. And what we came in the market to do was to provide a competitive solution to the electronic lockbox that was out there. Market being primarily dominated by Supra at the time, which was owned by General Electric. And my partners and I started the business specifically to bring a competitive lockbox solution into the marketplace. And now it's pretty much us and Supra out there.
And how did you get involved in the real estate industry? Are you an engineer? Are you an inventor? Sort of what's your background?
So my background's engineering, and I'll give you the short version. Otherwise, we'd have to get some beer involved in this because it's a long story. But my background goes back really 30 years ago. So back in the days, and some of you will remember this, some of you look at me like I'm talking from the dark ages of computers, is that my first product in this space was a terminal access software that was used by real estate agents to access their multiple listing service. This, of course, is all pre-internet, pre-browser. And what it allowed you to do was use your dial-up modems, if you might remember that from many
Sure.
years ago, to access those proprietary mainframes, download photographs, all the things that your browser does without even blinking an eye today was all done over dial-up in those days. So my partner and I's business, we basically sold our product primarily through Boris Systems, which again, ancient MLS names that'll pop up here, and ultimately More Data Management, which had the Compass product. And our product at one point was probably the most widely used terminal access software. So there was a software side of the business, which we ran for about, probably 10 years. And then as part of that, getting exposed to other real estate technology needs, we looked into the lockbox scenario because there were a lot of customers saying that they were looking for choices, new technology, new opportunities out there. And interestingly, one of my partners had started a rapid prototyping business. This is back in the days when 3D printing was just coming on the market. The printers were, $500,000 pieces of equipment, et cetera. So in-house, we had this kind of interesting mix of engineers and software developers and people with real estate technology background. And we created a lockbox solution, which we then partnered up with NAR that became a majority investor in the business and promoted that to real estate agents. And now we have, 400,000 real estate agents in the US and Canada using our product and service.
And so SentriLock is a huge leap beyond going to Amazon, purchasing a lockbox for $20, putting a manual code in and, hoping no one else gets access to that code, right?
Right. Absolutely. Now, the technology we focused around, agent productivity, certainly the security of the product is important. Ours is, one of the most independently attack tested products out there. We want to make sure the realtors feel safe putting it on there. Plus, it's a differentiator for agents coming into their clients. If they put a master lock, combo lock on the property, and that's pretty benign. You can get those at Home Depot. However, bringing on something new, the clients look at this. What is this? This is the best technology that's out there to help track, activity at the listing, provide the data we need to support the sale of the property, et cetera. So we think it's a differentiator from a market perspective for agents promoting themselves to clients.
And additional security, because of course, realtors are the only ones to get access to those codes through the SentriLock system.
Exactly. And of course, we're app-based now, so that makes the security even greater. There's no codes floating around unless it's a temporary access solution. So again, it really tailors to what agents are using every day. And if you don't believe me about the security aspects, just go on YouTube and look at any commercial lock product out there that's a lockbox, and you'll find that there are certainly a lot of people very creative ways of getting into those products. So we think that we try to keep our product focused on providing the best possible security for agents, again, as well as the data and the best customer experience for their clients.
Yeah, and you guys have a huge, impressive customer sort of satisfaction score of like almost 100%, like 96%, which is saying a lot because, as we know, realtors tend to be very critical of technology, in particular, anything where anything could possibly go wrong, they are going to want to blame the technology, and your technology seems to get blame free almost because it's so effective and efficient. And I know you, but I really want to talk about SentriKey, which is your
Sure.
newest iteration, and would love to hear. I know that you're super excited about it. You guys just rolled it out, and we just want to make sure everyone on who listens and watches our show is aware of how to get access to it and what it does and why they should choose it.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a little background. The SentriKey showing service product was an effort that we started about 15 months ago. So this was pre some of the current merger and acquisition activity that's occurred. So our board of directors and I and our leadership looked at this and said, we noticed there's a lot of consolidation going on in the showing service space. And we said, this is a great fit for the lockbox side, the access piece. They're like peanut butter and jelly. They go together very easily. If you're accessing the property, it's usually in relation to a showing that's an appointment that's scheduled. So we said, why don't we add the appointment scheduling capability into the platform, leverage our great customer service platform we have, our call center technology we have, to really compete with the showing times and other products out there in the world. That was really the kind of the genesis for it. Certainly today, with the recent acquisitions in the industry, that's generated a lot of greater interest in the product. Now that there's an option or an alternative out there, we're excited about the interest that's generated in the marketplace.
Yeah, we're interested in, I'm in the local Chicago market, and showing time is what's currently built into our local MLS. Can you talk about sort of how agents would, if they were interested in using SentriKey, how they would, make the shift or how would they actually, sign up for it to be able to schedule showings?
Yeah, so here's how this is going to work. So initially, as we're launching the product, we're launching it to associations and MLSs first as a kind of a platform play, simply because for us to try to go out and attack, a market of 1.4 million agents out there covering, a zillion different jurisdictions, 1,000 associations and MLSs, we said, okay, let's go with that approach, because then we can put the platform out there and then agents can subscribe to that. An important fact that we've been asked a lot about is, does it require that the SentriLock lockbox platform be in place? The answer is, in Q3, it will not. In Q3, we'll offer to any MLS or association, regardless of lockbox platform. Today, it's just easier for us to launch on our own platform, just to make that transition smoother as we kind of get our legs under us and get more customers on board.
So if anyone's currently a SentriLock subscriber, do they have access to SentriKey today or not quite yet, or?
Not quite yet. It would take the association or MLS to basically engage our product on that level, and then the agents can basically purchase the additional functionality through us for the platform. Some of the MLSs and associations we're talking to are actually rolling out the product system-wide to all their agents and all their members. That way they can utilize it. And depending on the association or MLS, might be the very basic integration or maybe as much as the call center integration. So different levels, different needs for different folks, but we're seeing that activity coming primarily, again, through the associations and MLSs initially.
So is the overall sort of vision for MLS integration with the software? So, for example, the software that's used here locally in Chicago is called MRED. And right now in MRED, I believe showing time might be the only native option inside the software. However, do you see that going forward, there would be two options or two choices, right? If you want to subscribe to, SentriKey, that may show up natively as well inside of each MLS.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Certainly, some associations and MLSs want one product to support, and that's fine. And they may choose us, they may choose other options out there. But I believe you'll see in multiple markets where there's a choice of platforms, and there will be the little bug on the listing or whatever that's either a SentriKey showing or a showing time showing. But I fully believe over the course of the next few years, you're going to see where MLSs probably may adopt one or more platforms to provide their agents choice again, so they can choose the platform that they're most familiar with or most comfortable with, or the features or what they're looking for. So I do believe you will see that. There's been some discussion right now within RESO, effectively the Real Estate Standards Organization, about potentially starting up a showing service cross-platform functionality or interoperability kind of standard, which will be important, I think, in the future, because certainly having multiple platforms in a market, you need to make sure those platforms talk to each other. That way, if an appointment is scheduled on one app, they can actually have it to show up in the other platform. So I think you'll see some interesting things come out with that over the next 6 months to a year.
And so I'd love to just get granular all the way down to the end user sort of experience, meaning the realtor experience using SentriKey. Can you just walk us through a workflow of sort of, what can be done, how it works, and sort of the end game as well?
Sure. So just like any appointment scheduling platform, first of all, the agent can set up the appointment, the calendaring. They can set up their itinerary for their showings that they're going to perform. All of the confirmation activity is all done electronically, either through the app or through telephone calls or through text messaging. So we support all the different communication platforms. Something that's very interesting about our platform, one thing that we're investing in is artificial intelligence or machine learning. That's related primarily around the appointment rescheduling. So we know that in showing services, rescheduling happens all the time.
Sure.
Listings go off market, buyer interest changes. So what we know happens currently is there's a lot of manual interaction between the listing or the buyer's agent and the seller's agent, trying to maybe adjust those schedules. What we're trying to do is bring the machine learning in place that can actually automatically do all that work for the agent. It can even take into account things like traffic conditions. It can rearrange the itinerary around saying, gee, there's a backup on Interstate 75, and you're going to be late to your next appointment. Would you like me to help reestablish a new appointment time or reorganize your schedule in a way that'll be more effective? So what we're trying to do is give the agent more time with their clients, so they're not worrying about all of those administrative kinds of tasks they have to do, and really making that more effective for their use and their time in the day. We know that agents definitely today are stressed by the amount of time that their workload takes up for them. And so we're trying to provide them a little relief on that so they can be more efficient in how they perform showings on properties.
Boy, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that is very exciting. And I just sort of want to reiterate how cool it would be with the AI module to be able to consistently evaluate showings, not just doing the rescheduling, but actually evaluate your current showing schedule and saying, hey, we might suggest a reschedule here just based
Definitely.
on, weather or traffic conditions, which is very, very interesting and exciting. Curious about, will SentriKey direct communicate with the customer, or is it really only a broker to broker system? Or agent to agent, I should say. Certain states call them agents, others brokers, but realtor to realtor, or will it also communicate directly with the end user or with the buyer? Seller.
Good question. So for example, on the buyer and seller side, certainly the agents can involve their buyer and seller in the communication process, so they can receive the notifications, they can respond to those notifications. But it allows the agent really to decide whether or not that's what they want to have their client do, or does the client expect them to do that on their behalf? Typically, most of your appointment scheduling, and always the agents always get involved with their clients because schedules change, et cetera. But I think we've got a very nice mix of the ability to control that based on the type of client needs that you have. So, but there is the ability for that platform to communicate directly out to the clients. We even have a client app that can allow those clients, if you're a buyer, you can go around and track the properties you visited, manage all your showing appointment, your own schedule through that, have your spouse or significant other as part of that process. So we realize involving them electronically, and certainly with today's incoming buyers, a lot of millennials that are very technology focused, they love to have that ability to see that information immediately, make those adjustments. They're tethered to their phones. They want to use their phone as their primary means of communication. If you say we took a phone call, they're like, what? I don't talk to anybody on the phone. I just want to do it electronically. So that's the way the product was built. And I will tell you that we designed this really from the ground up through focus groups, looking at other technologies out there. And so this was not something a bunch of engineers in a vacuum built. We had focus groups, et cetera, from agents around our area help us design the key functionality that makes their life easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. I used to, my before getting involved in real estate, I was an IT marketing person, and I used to witness daily, oftentimes, the disconnect between the developers and the end user, simply because two completely different personality types and skill sets and understandings. And being that you did a lot of focus groups and continue to ping the realtors to make sure that the products, meeting their needs and their clients' needs is obviously critical. And you've obviously done a great job of that with SentriLock and now also SentriKey. Well, I want to ask sort of the big question, or maybe it's not the big question to our listeners, but something that certainly is very prominent here in the news, especially around technology with some of the mergers that have happened, which is around data and what is done with that data. Is that data, kept private? Is it sold? Is it parsed out and utilized for advertising purposes? So obviously, can you talk a little bit about data collection and then what you guys intend to do or not do with it?
It's a great question, and I think that's a great, very relevant question with what's going on in the industry with a lot of consolidation. So what we do with the data currently is there's only one place the data goes to, and we take the access data, we summarize that and send it over to NAR's chief economist, Lawrence Yoon, and he uses that to help provide market reports to agents. The data doesn't go to any third party that would utilize that data in any other way. We realize that the agent's data and the broker's data around the listing and the sale is incredibly important and should be kept private. NAR certainly doesn't have any aspirations to use that data for anything other than products that would benefit real estate agents and keeping that data in the family, basically. So we don't use it for anything else either. We will use it to help agents promote listings to other agents that are looking for particular types of properties. For example, one of the great things we can do that's been available in MLSs for years, but isn't widely used, is that buyer prospecting. Buyers are visiting particular types of homes. We can understand what that looks like. When new listings are placed in the system, we can give those listing agents an opportunity to promote that listing right to those buyers who are looking for that type of property. So we can help, facilitate hopefully faster sale, more eyes on the property to basically provide the maximum value to the seller and give those buyers the maximum amount of choice, letting them know listings are coming on the market. And today, certainly in the environment with the low inventories, listings going on the market and coming off very quickly. Incredibly important to give those buyers an update and say, hey, did you know this house just went on the market? You better go check it out right now, because at 5 o'clock today, it may not be on the market any longer. So those are our data usages that we actually put into place, but you're not going to see us out there selling the information. We have privacy agreements set up with the MLS and association that we will not resell their information. So it's safe. We're a trusted provider in the marketplace, and we've never taken the data over 18 years that we've had and resold that to anybody. And that's probably a big differentiator. What are we doing? We're not going to utilize that information against an agent or a broker in some other sort of competitive way. And that's where I think we deliver a distinct advantage in that space.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And just a quick question. This was actually coming from one of our property management team members here at our company here in Chicago, which is, do you ever anticipate moving into the self-showing space? So being able to work directly with consumers, not bypassing realtors, but for other purposes, like I know ShowMojo does that currently. Are there any plans to sort of get involved in that vertical?
Yeah, so for the self-showing side, let me tell you what we are doing. So we are doing it in kind of an adjunct market in the apartment rental space with a company called Rently. Rently uses the SentriLock product on a lot of their listings for, basically for people to go and visit an apartment that's empty or vacant, and they can view it without the property manager having to drive across town to meet that prospective renter. But on the real estate sales side, most associations and MLSs have rules restricting self-showings. In other words, they want an agent present as part of their bylaws. So from a technology perspective, our product can do it today. It's certainly possible through our temporary access codes, et cetera. It's been available for 15 years. You could do that. So, but we don't have any direct desire to push into that space unless an association or MLS found that to be a new way to do business or an advantage. If that's the case, our product certainly supports it. But we want to keep agents out of trouble with their local association and MLS. So we discourage the practice, and certainly those associations and MLSs, if there's enforcement issues, can do that on our behalf or on their behalf to try to limit that activity if that's what their objective is.
And also, thanks for that. That's particularly helpful. And I, as somebody who came from the IT space and just finds developer roadmap stuff really interesting, as the nerdy side of me loves to ask about. Are there, you've talked about some of the future sort of features that your team is working on, but is there anything else coming in which you may or may not be able to share? But curious if there's anything that you could share about, or what might be coming in version 1.1 or version 2.0 of SentriKey.
So on the showing service, certainly, there is a long roadmap of feature functionality that's coming out. And so users of that system will see continued improvements, new feature functionality. Things as simple as mileage tracking has been something we've been asked for all the tax purposes.
Great.
Just, some very simple things. And there's also some more complex features that will be coming down the road that, you'll see in terms of greater usability, greater flexibility, more contact options, certainly better integration with our call center. So these are all things you're going to see incremental improvements in some areas, and some very interesting technology, again, on machine learning that we'll continue to leverage for agents using the platform. So what you see today is a very functional system, provides the core scheduling capabilities that an agent needs, but there'll be a lot of very interesting adjunct features that we have on the roadmap coming forth in the next 12 months that I think agents will be really excited about.
Well, once that happens, we'd love to have you back to keep introducing those new features to our audience. But for right now, if any of our listeners who are realtors and are currently SentriLock subscribers wish to participate in the SentriKey system, how do they make that transition to SentriKey?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is check with their association MLS, see if they are actively researching. We are currently right now in conversation with associations and MLSs representing over 700,000 agents in the US and Canada. So like I said, we've had amazing feedback. Now, I'm sure not all those are going to choose to go with SentriLock, but we've got a lot of market interest right now, and we have a number of customers who are coming on board over the next 6 months. So good chances are there's some conversation that may be happening already. Check with your association MLS, see if it's on the radar, and if it is, they'll be able to give you a better idea of timing.
And if they aren't currently exploring that, or if you don't know whether they're exploring it, contact your local association and ask. And I think it's important that if agents want choice, that they should ask. The associations work for the agents, and the agents are paying those dues and fees. So reach out to your local association, ask them about SentriKey, and ask for choice. If there's only showing time, for example, if that's the only option and you want an option to do SentriKey built right into the MLS, you have to tell your local association what you want. So reach out to them. And then as far as if you're not currently a SentriLock subscriber, you were saying in Q3 of 2021, you will be able to sign up directly as well, we believe, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So the platform itself today can support non-lockbox system users, but in terms of our rollout and overall planning, we said we've got enough interest in our current core customer base. Let's address them first. But as we move forward here into Q3, you'll start to see, and we're in conversation with a number of customers that are not on SentriLock right now. We'll see us rolling those into the platform as well.
Well, very, very exciting stuff. Well, I will let Scott get back to his busy day. I was telling him just before we went on that I wasn't sure I would be able to make it through this conversation without passing out, since I got my second vaccination shot yesterday afternoon and then just came from a workout. But I made it through, and I appreciate Scott's patience as I was sweating through this entire conversation. But I think this was a really good conversation, and an important conversation as well. And agents are, it's funny, we get on our show, we're constantly pitched by publicists for different technology providers and services, and we turn down pretty much everyone, because I'm never quite sure which technology provider is even worth talking to or talking about. The space is so large, there's so many players, but SentriLock is a trusted name. Obviously, probably almost all of our listeners are either using it or familiar with it, so we are thrilled and honored to have Scott on the podcast, and we will definitely be bringing him back as the product continues to evolve. So if you're not already using SentriLock, contact your local association and learn about it, and then also ask about SentriKey, and if they are working to get that integrated with their MLS software. Scott, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
really honor you and appreciate your patience and your generosity of time. We know how busy you are running a huge company, and having time to share with our podcast is really appreciated. And on behalf of, and also on behalf of Scott and myself, we want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for continuing to support our show. If the best way that you can continue to help us grow is just tell a friend. Think of one other realtor, a real estate professional that could benefit from hearing this great conversation with Scott, and send them a link to our show. The best way to do that, go right to our website, send them a link to keepingitrealpod.com. Every single episode we've ever done is there. It can be streamed right from the browser. They don't need to be a podcast person. If they are a podcast person, though, have them pull up a podcast app, search for Keeping It Real, and hit that subscribe button. And on behalf of the audience, we thank Scott for his time, and we will see everyone on the next episode. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You did great, by the way. You didn't, nothing. Your vaccine didn't affect you at all. You're looking great.
Well, I'm going to go pass out in about 1 minute. So I will, it's Scott also was telling me when he got his first shot, he went on a bike ride afterwards and had that same experience of, oh, maybe this wasn't the best idea, but I'm glad we got through it together. Scott, you're a great guest, and thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.